Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Sean Huggins and this is Europe with Hugs. Thank you so much for being here. On this channel, me, an American, is looking to learn about life in Europe through watching silly videos and stuff on the internet with you guys. So today, check this out. Switzerland and Italy are changing their border. Here's why. Bro, what? Apparently, Switzerland and Italy are changing their border. Let's see what's going on here. By the way, if you enjoy, consider subscribing. We're trying to get to that magical 1,000 subscriber mark. So if you enjoy the video, if you want to see more, like I said, consider subscribing. It helps out a lot. Thank you very much. Anyways, let's go. Socks. Hello, socks. General knowledge.
First, the new Bektashi country, and now a border change in Europe. Mapmakers must be going crazy right now. On October 1st, this article came out in a bunch of news outlets stating that Italy and Switzerland have agreed to shift their shared border in the Alps. Now, this is pretty uncommon. For the most part, European borders have kind of stayed the same since the start of the 21st century. Maybe two big exceptions are the separation of Montenegro and Kosovo from Serbia. That's always something fun to mention in a video, right? Nobody's gonna get mad in the comments. But every now and then, two countries will sit down and agree some minor changes to their shared borders. For instance, in 2020, France and Switzerland made a little bit of a change to account for readjustments related to Geneva Airport, where infrastructure overlapped the original boundary. In 2009, following a ruling from the International Court of Justice, Romania and Ukraine finally set their border along the Black Sea and divided the resources around Serpent Island. Or in 2014, when Germany and the Netherlands adjusted their border along the Elms River because over time the flow of the river had shifted its location. And now in 2024, Switzerland and Italy are doing something similar too, and the reasons are similar to the cause of the German-Dutch border change as well. So in this video, we are going to learn where the border is changing, in what way, and why.
Baby.
Switzerland has a pretty interesting place within Europe. It's a small country, it's landlocked, and it is surrounded by many nations. It borders France, Germany, Austria, Liechtenstein, and Italy, and while its northern borders are reasonably simple, the southern, eastern, and western ones are not. The reason why? The Alps. The Alps are one of the highest and most extensive mountain ranges in Europe, stretching approximately 1,200 kilometers across 8 alpine countries, one being Switzerland, and the 5 others being the countries that Switzerland borders. This map shows it well, separating the French Alps, the Swiss Alps, the Italian Alps, and then the Bavarian, Austrian, and Slovenian ones. It's odd that the map labels it as Bavarian instead of German, while all the others are just the countries, but anyway. If we switch to a satellite image, this becomes even clearer, the vast expanse of the mountain range. And when it comes to Italy, the entire border with Switzerland is across the Alps mountains. The border extends between them for 744 kilometers, from the French-Swiss-Italian tri-point at Mont Dolin in the west to the Austrian-Swiss-Italian tri-point near Pislad in the east. It is the longest border of both Switzerland and Italy. And not only does the entire border run across the Alps, but much of it actually goes across the high Alps, going above 4,600 meters in altitude. Interestingly, it also passes through the lowest point in Switzerland, as it passes Lago Maggiore at 200 meters below sea level. And while mountains are pretty solid and not really something that moves around across time, these mountains have something in particular. Well, I guess all tall mountains do. Ice, more precisely, glaciers. Now, borders are never permanent, and while it is kind of rare that significant changes happen today, these are just lines that humans decided to make across natural regions to divide them into political entities. And the borders between Italy and Switzerland actually have an interesting story. The border is a product of the Napoleonic period, established with the Provisional Constitution of the Helvetic Republic of 1798, restored in 1815. While this border existed as a border of Switzerland from 1815, there was only a unified Italian state to allow the existence of a Swiss-Italian border with the formation of the Kingdom of Italy in 1861. It previously comprised the borders between Switzerland and the Kingdom of Sardinia, the Kingdom of Lombardy-Venetia, and the province of Cisleithania of Austria-Hungary.
Right, of course, as we all know.
Since 1815, a few adjustments have been made, several times throughout history. But since 1946, it has pretty much remained unchanged, with the exception of minor corrections and exchanges of territory. And these minor changes, which we'll get into right now, and which characterize this specific border change, are proof that borders aren't immovable. The Swiss government's website even says this pretty clearly. Borders are commonly regarded as fixed, but depending on the terrain, they are subject to climatological changes and natural phenomena, and may thus change their course. This is exactly what has happened here and caused the border change between them.
Global warming
because a
causing
border that
changes.
is drawn across the icy peaks of glaciers is definitely subject to change,
Wow,
especially
what the
in
heck?
a world that
Dude, look at this freaking building. What is this? What building is this? Oh my gosh, I would love to go there.
is heating up. As the local
Look at
and
that. Oh my
global
God.
temperatures are rising, the peak of the Matterhorn, which is one of the tallest peaks of the Swiss Alps, has begun to melt. And so the two countries have agreed to redraw their border to reflect this new natural landscape.
Oh.
With Switzerland gaining 100 to 150 meters of territory into what was before Italy. Switzerland has already officially approved this change, and Italy should do it pretty soon. They're both acting on a common agreement from last year. And while it may seem odd, this isn't something new between the two countries. In the year 2000, they performed something similar at Fourques-Saatel. Actually, in this one, something pretty funny happened, which was that with the border change, the ski lift of the resort that exists there started being a part of Switzerland instead of being a part of Italy, which it was when it was constructed. One could question why they don't just keep the same border but at a lower altitude, but from what I could understand, and correct me if I am wrong, they have defined and decided that their shared border must be set across the peaks of these glaciers. This illustration shows us how in 1940 the peak was here, and so that's where the border was. But as the ice melted, the peak of the glaciers shifted over here 100 to 150 meters.
So it really is global warming causing the shifting of borders. Wow, incredible.
Meters to the left, and so the border had to be readjusted to match it. And they actually have an online map that's kind of interactive, which shows us how the border has changed in all of these tiny details in various places. We can see the old 1940 borders along the black crosses and the new adjusted one in the pink line. While the lines still match in many places, they're far apart in many others too, even if just a little bit. And a good selection is presented to us to showcase these changes by Swiss Topo, the Federal Office of Topography of Switzerland. At L'Aller, it's only a tiny bit of an adjustment between the black crosses and the pink line. But at Genève-Cottrin, it's much more significant, with the border being pushed back quite a lot into Switzerland. So while in this more recent case, Switzerland actually gained a little bit of land, there's a lot of other cases in which it loses it. At Douane de Bardonnay, they also lost it, in this case to France, and it seems like in the middle of the actual city that's at the border. At Barrage de Livigno, it's pretty much the same, just slightly adjusting it along the river course, while at Barrage de Mosson, there's a big change again, with Swiss territory growing towards the south, something that also happens in this final example of Barrage du Val d'Ilay, when instead of continuing in a vertical line, the border extends tremendously to the west to add this rectangle of territory to Switzerland. And when it comes to the glacier issue, we could also just argue, why don't they just change the rule, right? The border was set along the glacier peaks when it was first formed, but now that things have changed on the ground, the border could just stay where it was. But there seems to be some logic in wanting to keep those glacier peaks as the marks for the border, because as the ice melts, it makes the landscape more unstable, prone to dangerous landslides and collapses of snow. And so Switzerland says that these changes are also in accordance with the safety and economic priorities of each country. It's thought that clarifying the border will help both sides know which areas they have to take care of and make sure are safe. And it seems that according to Swiss predictions, these changes are going to keep happening at least for a while. One article quoted them saying in 2024, glaciers continued to lose ice at a high speed, despite much snow in the winter that was expected to bring some relief. Some glaciers are literally falling apart, small glaciers are disappearing. Statistics show that in 2024, Switzerland's glaciers lost about 4% of their size, compared to 6%.
2024, their glaciers lost 4% of their size in 1 year? 4% in 1 year? We're so screwed. We're so screwed. We got to go to Mars. Guys, someone call up Elon Musk. We have to go to Mars. Earth is over. We failed. We failed.
Of loss in the previous year. So it's very likely that as they continue to melt in the future, Switzerland and Italy will have to continue adjusting their border until the ice stops melting or all of it is gone. And interestingly, this seems to be exclusive to the border of Switzerland with Italy, even though Switzerland also shares these alpine borders with France and Austria. The Swiss government states that there are no snow fields or glaciers along the other alpine borders between Switzerland and France or Austria, which could result in any positional changes. However, the border between the canton of Geneva and France has a total of around 103 kilometers, 50 of which pass through the middle of rivers. Over time, and as a result of flooding, maybe from the melting of the glaciers as well, these rivers have shifted their course, showing that in various places the border has changed and will have to change as well. So that is why Switzerland and Italy are shifting their border, where that shift is happening, and why the change is taking place, allowing us to understand how many tiny border changes have been made along the Swiss-Italian border over time because of the melting of glaciers and their insistence on using the peaks of glaciers as the marks for the border for those safety and economic concerns. In addition to other small changes they've made, such as the ones in the border with France due to the changes in the course of rivers or for other natural reasons. What do you think about this? Does it make sense to you that they're changing the border, or should they just keep it as it is despite the changes on the ground?
Definitely makes sense why they would do it, and definitely makes sense the way that they do it, the method that they use to do it. But the good news is they probably won't have to keep doing this for long, because all the glaciers will be gone and then nothing will be shifting. You know, so everything will be just the same border from now until the end of time, which is probably like 2030 at this rate. So it's fine. So they should be good now. Anyways, I'm curious what you guys have to say about it. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And like I said, if you enjoyed, consider subscribing. Trying to hit that magical 1,000 subscriber mark, so it'd be greatly appreciated. But that's all I got for today, so thank you guys so much for being here, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.